rollers. You don't have to have a mental illness to find certain people devastating to your mental health. And those people I like to call the 2 steps forward, 10 steps back people. Whether it be the business partner that scores you and him a big contract and then bungles it all up, whether it's the person who you lent money to that paid you back and then borrowed more money and didn't pay you back, started avoiding your calls, or whether it be personal relationships. So for instance, if you take somebody back after much promises of changes and then the first thing they do is cheat on you when they come back to you. These people are 2 steps forward, 10 steps back people. They are a little different than the typical letdown or toxic personality, because they garner, or they earn your trust, and then they dissolve it. And that fall can be catastrophic. Now, again, you don't have to have a mental illness to be hurt and have your life unravel over the actions of these people. But as someone with a mental illness, if you're looking after yourself, you have to make sure that the people you have around you are people you can trust, people who have a purpose and are driven, to show up as the best people they can be. Ideally, these are people who mean what they say and do what they say. And so it's hard to deal with for someone with bipolar when someone wins over your trust and then brings it all crashing down. We are dependent on the rocks around us. We know that we are at a bit of a certain disadvantage, and much like somebody with 2 left feet, you don't want to be dancing on sand. You want some solid footing underneath you. Why make the job of life and navigating it even more difficult for yourself when you know that you have a pretty large obstacle to overcome daily? So you need to be able to count on the people around you, and especially when you're happy enough to find someone, say, that has won over your trust, and but they were giving a false impression of their reliability or their dependability or their character, right? So it's really important that you don't punish yourself for things of this nature. We all sometimes lack the proper scrutiny, to pick people that are healthy for us in our lives. We all make mistakes, and sometimes we end up paying for them. But remember that the actions of someone else are not your responsibility. They're not your problem. You do the best that you can, and you hope that the people around you have good intentions and have your best interests at heart. But it's important that you don't become a doormat, because as those of us with bipolar, sometimes we are just so happy to have somebody else in our lives who at least attempts to understand, that we sell ourselves short, that we lower our expectations for what a person that's healthy for you is. So I'm not saying you should never forgive somebody who brings you in close and then totally lets you down. But I'm saying that don't allow yourself to become a doormat. And by that I mean, don't be naive enough to believe that everybody has what it takes to be someone that you trust. Because some people always like the idea of you more than they like all the obligations and responsibilities that you have when you become a confidant or a friend, to just be mindful of other people and their hurts and their pains, and be sensitive to their needs. These are not things everyone can do, sadly. So again, set the bar a little higher. Be a little more selective about the people that you have around you, because ultimately they make a huge difference on how your life chugs along. You don't want to be purposely throwing logs in front of that train track, because you might be able to go through them, but man, does it make it a lot more difficult. That's my little thoughts for the day. Just, remember not to take personally that there will always be people who will convince you they're up for more than they are. And that's not your fault. If you're pure and believe in the goodness of people, that's never a fault. Eventually, those people will appear in your life. But there'll be a lot of flakes along the way, so be prepared for that. I want you guys to have a great day, and as always, my bipolar rollers represent.